Hi again, this is Mike, and I owe you an apology. I lied in my last one of my last videos and said I wasn't going to do any more at Fayette County. And since I said that, I did the one with my grandson. You've probably seen that. And I went out this past Monday and fished again at Fayette County, and was not really going to post too much of it, maybe a few clips, but it was such a fun day and successful day that I decided to go ahead and post another video. When I arrived at the boat ramp about 7 o'clock in the morning, it was very foggy, and so it made an interesting trip around to where I wanted to fish. My GPS was not working properly. It's a very old one, and it was in and out of reception, so I couldn't really rely on it too much. Instead, I just used memory and my compass and some luck to get to the fishing spot by about 8 o'clock in the morning. And the first bite came fairly soon on about the fifth cast, I believe, fourth or fifth. And it was kind of slow but steady for a while, and then it picked up until somewhere around noon, and then it slowed down for an hour or so and then picked up again. I started out fishing timber in 7 to 10 feet of water, kind of the same places I've been fishing the last several trips, and that seemed to work pretty well, but I had to fish very slow, so I tied up to a tree and fished everything around me very thoroughly, and then moved a little bit and repeated that all morning. Since the last trips have produced fish using chartreuse pepper finesse worms, I started with that, and somewhere a little before noon, I believe, I ran out of my first pack and dug around and realized that I did not have another pack. I thought I had at least one more. So I pulled out some 6-inch ribbon tail chartreuse pepper worms, and they seemed to work just fine. But I ran out of those later in the day, and so all I had in chartreuse pepper was 6-inch lizards. And so I started using those, and we're getting a few bites, but I was also getting some sharp strikes where they would just take the tail off when I set the hook. They weren't just really engulfing them like they had the other baits. So after a little bit of that, I got my clippers out and I clipped the legs off a lizard and threw it out and immediately caught a fish. So that's what I did the rest of the day, was clip the legs off the lizards and catch fish, and they were just as active on that as they had been on the other baits. So it was an interesting day of bait juggling. I suspect the fish are probably getting into the spawn pretty good on Fayette now, because they had been moving up. I've been kind of watching and monitoring them in the last few weeks as more and more fish got into the shallower water, and by shallower water I'm talking, the 7 to 10 feet range, and a few in shallower, but nothing that I could really pinpoint in the very shallow. So, and by the end of this day, I was starting to catch fish in shallower water down to as shallow as about 3.5 feet. I did not move up any shallower than that, although I did see one boat that came into that area and caught a few fish in what I guess were probably 2 to 3 feet of water. I tried to keep this video short by clipping out a lot of the things that I normally would show, like releasing the fish or unhooking the fish, things like that. So about all I'm showing is hook sets and getting the fish in the boat. It looks like I won't be able to get back on the lake till later next week. And probably will go to Fayette again then. I'd just like to follow the fish and the spawn until things start slowing down a little bit there, and then I'll move on to some different lakes, and possibly even get a trip to Lake Fort maybe in April, late March or sometime in April.